Hey guys, Aaron here. I've been building a lot of cabinets lately. I built this entertainment center, built this buffet cabinet. I just got done building these two upper cabinets for this kitchen that I'm doing. It's an existing kitchen already, so I had to match these cabinets to what they already have. Still need to build the base cabinets for those. That's what I'm going to be working on next. But in this video, I built these two upper cabinets, and what else will be shown here is a lot of the jigs that I use to actually build the cabinets. They're all made by Craig, and as I was shooting this video, it seemed to be turning into like a Craig sponsorship video, but I'm not sponsored by Craig or anything like that. So, but I do like their products. They make good products. I've had these things for a long time, and they last, and they work well, actually. But the first part of this video, what I really wanted to do was showcase like how do you generate a cut list? It's my process for how I start. So first thing I'll do is I'll get an idea of what I want, and then obviously go and measure my space. And then from there, I go to SketchUp. So I draw it all out on SketchUp, get my sketch going. And then from there, once I like my design on SketchUp, then I use this thing called Open Cut List, which is an extension within SketchUp. And that from there, you can generate your cut list. Let me show you what I mean. Just to preface this isn't a how-to video. It's not going to be a how to use SketchUp or a how to use Open Cut List. Just really wanted to show you my process and what I do. And if you already know how to use SketchUp, definitely look into using this extension called Open Cut List. It definitely has helped me a lot. Keeps you organized. You can label all your parts. And enough talking about it. Let's get to it. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so this is my sketch here in SketchUp, and what we're doing is we're building these two upper cabinets here in this video. So we don't need these lower cabinets. I will be building these in the future, but for now we can just get rid of these. So let's just hide them quick. As a matter of fact, we don't need these for this open cut list, so we'll go ahead and hide all of this. Okay, so now these drawings right here, these sketches are the exact same upper cabinets that we were just looking at, just broken down into individual parts and pieces. Download the extension called Open Cut List, and you'll open that. So from here, once you have your materials selected, you'll go to Parts. And then up here, you'll click Generate. So we'll go right down here to the sheet goods. So I have my 3/4 inch plywood here and my 1/4 inch plywood. And what we'll do is go over here to go to Cutting Diagram. We'll select that. And what this Open Cut List does is it even gives you your blade thickness here, which mine is 1/8 inch. Trimming, this is for trimming your plywood all the way around the perimeter, 1/2 inch off. That way, if there's any damage or anything like that, you get rid of it. And then basically you're just gonna hit Generate, and boom, here's your cut list and here's your diagram. It's super easy, super simple. You can have it in list form like this down here, or really the main thing I like is looking at this right here. It gives me a visual, it tells me exactly where I need to rip my plywood. In this case right here, I'd be ripping it at 12 1/8 3 times. You can see 1, 2, 3. I would just do those 3 rips right on the table saw, and then from there cross cut all my parts. And you can just print this off and bring it right to your shop with you and just get to cutting. And it's pretty slick. I really like this. You can also make labels. So you can click labels, and this will print off all of the labels for all of your parts to keep you organized. So you can label your parts by printing those pages off and cutting them out and taping them and sticking them right to your actual cabinet parts. And if you were going through all your cutting here and you were wondering like, what is part A? I don't remember. Then all you got to do is click on it, and it opens your model back up. And as you can see, it highlights it and it shows right where it is in your model. And same thing, we'll go to C, and this is the top and bottom of your cabinet boxes. So super handy, super convenient. I really like it. Modern technology is good, I guess. So anyway, if you have SketchUp and you have some experience with it and you haven't used this extension called Open Cut List, give it a shot. I really think you'll like it. And with that said, let's go ahead and start breaking down these sheet goods. all of our nailer strips will get pocket holes in each end, and then we'll be ready for assembly. Okay, this is a super simple process. All we're going to do is throw some glue in our dado and shoot it with some brad nails. And we'll check for square as we work. All right, so we're nice and square, and now we'll shoot some brads. You're going to be doing a lot of pocket holes. I really do like these 90-degree corner clamps that Craig makes. These are the Automax ones, so you don't have to make the adjustment with the tensioner screw on the bottom. These things are pretty slick. They really hold your workpiece in place quite well. Definitely recommend buying these. I'll leave some links in the descriptions, and for all the products that you see me using, tools and other products, it'll be in the description, and it is an Amazon affiliate link, so if you decide to use it, it helps me out a little bit. Appreciate it. Thank you. But these clamps, they're pretty sweet. Let me bring you in a little closer and show you here. There's a little thumb screw here that you turn to increase or decrease the tension. Okay, so like I said, there's a little thumb screw right here. There's a little plus sign and a minus sign right here. And if you want to increase or decrease the tension, all you do is just turn that with your thumb real quick. Turns super easy, and then it determines on how tight this will squeeze to your workpiece. It really locks in place, and it really helps when you're driving these screws. It prevents your material from shifting. I really like it. It works really good. So after you get your first screw in, you just grab up here, like so. Give it a little push, and it completely lets go. And then you can basically move to the other side over here. Really helps when you're able to. It's kind of like a third hand, basically. All right, we'll drive this other screw in here. And go ahead and release it. Okay, I'm ready to start cutting up the base frame parts, the rails and stiles, and I already milled all this up. Basically what you're gonna do is cut it to 1.5 inches by 3/4. What I like to do is cut the stiles first, so because that's the overall length. That's not gonna change, it's just the height of your cabinet. Mine's 40 inches, so we're gonna cut these to 40 inches. Okay, now I'm gonna do a step here that is relatively, it's not needed really, but I do feel like it does save you some time actually. So what this is a calibration and sanding disc made by CMT. I'm sure there's other brands out there, but anyway, what it is, it's just basically a piece of 100 grit sandpaper that is, it's got self-adhesive to it. Just stuck to this. I'm just gonna throw up my table saw, set my fence to 1.5 inches, and sand the edges of all of my face frame materials. So as you can see, this is, I got it in real close here, and that's sanded. That feels very smooth. There's no tooling marks anymore all the way along this entire piece. it really makes short work of your sanding, because we all know sanding sucks. And now all of our rails will get pocket holes. I'll tell you one thing I really like about this Craig K5 pocket hole jig. I don't even think they make this. I think they got an upgraded version now. It's like a 720 or something like that. But this is a K5. The dust collection on this thing is pretty good. I've even had this, get it off, this piece right here break on me. And Craig basically just, I emailed them and they sent me a brand new one out, and I've had this thing for years, and this is a little flimsy, but it lasted a long time. And like I said, I emailed them and they just sent me a new one. So anyway, props to Craig, I guess. They're not sponsoring this or anything like that, but I do like their pocket hole jigs and some of their other cabinet jigs. Okay, we're gonna start pocket holing this face frame together, and this is where it really helps to have a nice flat table. This isn't a torsion box or anything like that. It's not a dead flat table, but it's pretty flat. So what I like to do is glue on there, and then I've got these clamps. I just bought these. I'm trying them. So far, I kind of like them. They're not bad. They're very strong. They're really robust, it feels like. But basically what I'll do is I'll just clamp this seam down right to my table, and that way when I'm driving my screw in, the clamp will hold everything down flat to the table, and I get a nice flush surface, flush piece on the face of my face frame. So I'll just kind of hold that there for a second, and then I'll bring my clamp over and start screwing that down. Make sure I'm flush and crank it down tight. Oh. All right, so now we'll flip this over and I'll give you a little look here. Okay, so as you can see, this came out real flush. Very little sanding here to get this nice and flush for us. I swear, I'm really not making this video to showcase all of Craig's tools and jigs and stuff, but I'll show you another option here that Craig offers to be able to screw your face frames together. It's just basically a flat-faced clamp. This is their Automax series again, which I do really like. Actually, it just makes adjusting it really quick and easy. So all you're gonna do is just take this flat face clamp, get your glue on here, and go ahead and squeeze down on your pieces of material. And these clamp faces are large enough that it covers both sides and it covers both ends of the material. So really it prevents your material from lifting off of each other, so you get a nice flat face. And then we'll butt our pieces up nice and tight. And then we'll take our clamp here and squeeze both pieces down together, ensuring that we're flush down here. And once we're flush, we'll give it a squeeze. It kind of locks it in, and that's pretty good. And then all we're gonna do is drive our screws in here. And then we'll release our clamp and see how we did. Very flush here as well, and down here. So like I said, that's another way or another option that Craig offers to be able to put your pocket hole joinery together and get pretty good results. So I'll leave links in the description for all these jigs. All right, our frames are built. They came out nice and square on all four corners, and now everybody's favorite job, sanding. We'll get it sanded up and we'll put a round over on the inside, and then we'll start attaching it to our boxes. All right, now we're gonna attach our face frames, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack a couple of scrap pieces of plywood down on the bottom here, just to butt my face frame up to. That way it's just one less thing you gotta worry about during glue up. We're just gonna put a couple of brads in here Nothing too fancy, just something that we can just knock off with a hammer later. And like I said, it's just to butt our face frame up to. So all we're gonna do is just glue and brad nail this on. If this was a stained piece or a solid wood, natural wood, I wouldn't be nailing it. I would probably be doing some biscuits or just clamping it, glue and clamps, something like that. But for this, it's painted, so we'll just go ahead and fill the nail holes afterwards, and we shouldn't have any issues. So we'll go ahead and set this in place. We'll butt this up against our blocks and just drop her in. Okay, so if you look, I've got this face frame overhanging the cabinet box side here. So, and there's a little bit of a lip here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use that router bit to flush trim the face frame to the cabinet box itself. So I'll show you how this bit works. And then there's also, you see the little point on here. What that does is that you wanna line that V groove point, I guess, you wanna line that, words are tough. It's got this little point to it, a little V groove here. So we want to lower this down to where that V groove lines up exactly on this seam. Right there looks pretty good. So we'll lock this down. So now what we'll do is this bearing is going to follow the sidewall of the cabinet. The point is going to cut the groove in the seam, and then the cutters on the shank here is going to cut the actual face frame, and this will be flush with the cabinet box itself. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, so now, as you can tell, that's completely flush with the side of the cabinet box. And it also gives that little decorative edge right here. Okay, we've got our cabinet boxes made with face frames on, all sanded, nail holes are filled. It's basically ready for paint. So next up is to start decking this thing out with some doors. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna use a website. I'll show you here in a minute. I use a website to actually figure out my dimensions for my doors. It's just quick and easy. I'll give you a little tip here. I think you'll like it. But basically we got to get some dimensions first. So what we need is we need to measure the inside of our entire face frame opening. Mine is 25 wide by 37 tall. So those are the two measurements that you need. All right, so we're going to go to Google here and type in cabinet door calculator. And then from there, scroll down until you see raised panel cabinet door calculator and open that website up. And here we're going to enter in those dimensions that we had. So the width and the height of our cabinet. Mine was 25 by 37. And then you need to decide what door options you have here. Mine is 1/2 inch overlay, so we're going to keep it on overlay. What is the width of your stiles? You can change that if yours is not 2 1/4, and keep it at 1/2 inch overlay unless you're deciding to do a different size. And then you need to decide, you need to enter in the number of doors you have. Is this a double door cabinet or a single door? And in our case, it is a double door, so we'll select 2. And then you need to select the gap between your doors. Are you doing 1/8 inch or 3/32 or 1/16? I'm going to keep mine at 1/16 here. And then this website even figures in your groove depth, which would be if you're using a table saw, however high you set your blade to cut your groove. Me, I'm using a tongue and groove bit, so I need to change this because my bit is actually 7/16 from the bearing to the end of the cutter To create that groove, mine is 7/16, so I'm going to change this from 3/8 to 7/16. And then it also accounts for your panel expansion, because wood expands and contracts, obviously, and we'll keep that at 1/8 inch. And then the panel style, is it single panel or do you have a double panel in there? Most of them are going to be single panel, and then from here you're just going to hit that calculate, and it'll generate an entire cut list for you and do all the calculations for you. It gives you your door dimensions, 12 and 31 32nds by 38 in my case, and then 4 stiles, 4 rails, 2 panels, and gives you all the dimensions that you can just take right out to your shop and just start cutting. All right, guys, I got my rail and stile material all roughed out in front of me here. I've got my cut list, so I will refer to this and I will start cutting all of these to its final length. And we're going to do that over here at the miter saw. We're over here at the router table. I got all my parts cut for my doors, and I cut a couple extra just for setup on the router table here. So I'm going to be using a tongue and groove bit. We're going to cut the copes first. I like to do that process first rather than cutting the groove. I also like to use this coping sled. It's just a homemade jig, super easy to make. I'll bring you in closer and kind of give you a bird's eye view of it. Okay, first things first is this coping sled. This thing is super easy to build. It's just literally a piece of scrap plywood, a little auxiliary fence right here, and a couple of toggle clamps. And the way this works is all you're gonna do is put your piece down in here like this, and you clamp it down, and then once you have your bit set to the correct height and your fence in the right position, you run your piece through like this. You'll see here in a minute. This tongue and groove bit, if you don't know, it has a bearing right here. We need to make sure that that bearing here, our fence, is perfectly in line with that. So that's what we're gonna do right now, is we'll slide our fence forward. And then all I do is take a rule here. I've got this side of my fence locked down, and this side, I'm gonna push this away like this, so the rule is actually on the bearing, and now all I'm going to do is put some pressure over here and slide my fence forward right here until that gap closes up like it just did there. And then once that's closed up, I'll lock it down. And there we go, our fence is set. We need to get our bit height set, so let's do that. All right, we got all of our copes cut on all of our rails, so now we got to start cutting the groove. So we're gonna put the groove bit in of the tongue and groove bit set, and we'll get it to the right height and start cutting the grooves. So here's the cutter, and what we're gonna do is try to get this exactly perfect, and I'm kind of put my thumbnail on the top of the tongue here, and I'll run it into the actual cutter, and I can still feel something right there. So I'm gonna lower this down just slightly. That's real close. That feels really good. Close enough that we're gonna give it a shot. Now this bit has the same style bearing right here, so what we'll do the same setup process. Okay, now on a flat surface, make sure it's nice and flat. Take both your pieces and place your tongue inside your groove, and make sure that you came out nice and flush, which this did. That's actually about perfect. I'm happy with that. We're gonna run all of our grooves in all of our pieces now. All right, all of our parts for our doors are cut and ready to go. I did some dry fitting here. Everything came together nice and square and true, and everything is nice and tight and flush. So, and I went ahead and cut these panels off camera. It's basically just your center panels. You should be able to refer back to that cut list that website generated. It should be exactly what it said as long as you did your measuring correctly. So anyway, with that said, I am super tired. It's late. I want to go to bed, but I'm going to stay up and get these doors in some clamps and glued up. That way they can dry overnight. So that's what I'm going to do now. I lied. It's the next day. I was exhausted last night. I just ended up going to bed. I started making some mistakes and I was just tired. My brain fog was happening. So I just decided I'm going to bed. So it's the next day. We're going to get these things glued up today, and we'll leave them in clamps for 4 or 5 hours before we start sanding on them. Okay, the doors are built. They're in clamps. Glue is drying. I'm going to let these sit here for about 4 or 5 hours, and then I'll come back and sand it. I just wanted to give you a quick tip. If you don't have a lot of clamps, you don't have to worry about if you don't have enough clamps or anything like that. There's a little thing. There's something I've done in the past plenty of times that works really well. If you have a brad nailer, it's basically you have your rail here, you have your tongue that sits inside of your groove. I've actually done it before where I've just used hand pressure and then actually tacked that with a couple of brad nails, or if you have a needle gun, which I call it, it's a little pinner that shoots just a little wire nail. It's a headless nail. It just puts this tiny little hole in there, especially if it's just painted doors. You can just fill that in with some wood filler, sand it smooth, and paint it up, and nobody will ever know. And in some ways, I almost wonder if that's even stronger, having that mechanical fastener shooting right through that tongue, basically locking that joint together. So if you don't have a lot of clamps, don't worry about it. You can still build cabinet doors. All right, we are ready for paint. Doors are sanded, cabinets are sanded, we're ready to go. So products we're gonna be using is Sherwin-Williams products today. It is Sherwin-Williams a premium wall and wood primer. This stuff is, I like it. It's sprays well, it sands good, it fills the grain quite well. Definitely recommend this stuff. Give it a shot. And then also the Gallery series by Sherwin-Williams. This stuff you cannot brush or roll. You have to spray this stuff. It dries super fast. I mean, my rig, so it's Fuji Q5 Platinum. This is their top tier one. This thing is the cat's meow. This thing is awesome. I love it. It's very expensive. So if you got the money laying around, highly recommend it. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. You can get all this done just by brushing and rolling. And let me tell you, this paint, right? See if I got one handy. I don't have one handy with the logo showing. Well, you can get an idea right here. This stuff right here, Sherwin-Williams Emerald. It's their trim enamel, abbreviated UTE people call it. So it's their urethane trim enamel. Brushing and rolling, man, this stuff is awesome. It's not as durable as Gallery series, but I've used it in kitchens and stuff, and it's good stuff. I mean, this stuff lays down with a brush and a roller almost like spraying. So it takes forever to dry, though. That's the issue. So I'm trying to get away from that. What else? I think that's it. Let's get to spraying. Okay, doors are painted, cabinets are painted, and let me tell you, I am super happy with the way this turned out. I'm using Sherwin-Williams Gallery Series paint. It's the second time I've ever used it, and I'm having good results with this. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. And it's a little on the pricier side, but it's worth it for these type of results. And for this is going in a kitchen, and it is got some durability here that I'm not seeing with some of the other paints that I've been using in the past. So I'm pretty excited about it, pretty happy with it. You can't brush it, can't roll it, gotta spray it. Dries super fast, recoats, and this time for these doors, I was recoating within 20 minutes. That's how fast it was drying. Now, to be fair, I live in Oklahoma and it's 100 degrees right now. So as the future months go, I don't have a heated or cooled shop here. So as we get in some of the later months here, dry times could change. That's basically what I'm saying. Or depending on where you live. But crazy happy with how this laid down so far. Okay, next, doors. We're gonna start hanging these doors on the cabinet. So we need to drill these holes right here for our hinges. And yet again, I've got another Craig jig for you. This is Craig's cup hinge, 35 millimeter concealed European hinge. There's like 15 different names for these things, and I've had this thing for years. It's worked pretty good. It was a little questionable on some of the plastic parts, but it's durable plastic. I've had this thing for years. I mean, for a guy that's just doing cabinets every now and then, pretty good jig. Let me show you how to do this. I'll bring you in a little bit closer and show you exactly how this works. All right, so this is a crazy simple jig. All you're gonna do is take these little stops here. There is offset measurements on these. You can see there's 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter, and 6. That is the offset. You're gonna need to figure out what hinges you're using and what the offset is recommended for your specific hinge, and then just turn the dial to whatever it tells you to do. And once you got that figured out, just take this, butt it up against here. What I like to do is take this little scrap block of wood here, butt it up against my door, butt the jig up against it, and then hold it in place and clamp it down. Ensure I'm flush. Yep, we're good, nothing moved. And now we're gonna go ahead and drill our little pilot holes for our screws. It is handy to have 2 drills. Now you're gonna take the second half of this jig, and you'll see right here there's some guides here. Basically, you're just gonna line that up, drop it down in, and give it a turn like that. Now this is locked in. So now all we gotta do, usually I'll just take my thumb and hold this side and just drill this hole. Unlock it, pull it out. I usually go to the trash can and just give this a little shake. And we'll pull the clamp off and see how we did. And that is a perfectly drilled hole. And we'll place our hinge inside the cup hole here. Our screw holes are lined up perfect. And we'll screw it in. And there we go. Nice soft close hinges, and it works every time. Like I say, this jig is super simple. And if you're gonna do some cabinet doors, definitely recommend buying it. Okay, we're gonna start hanging these doors, and gotta apologize, there's like a crazy thunderstorm going on right now. So if you're hearing some thunder, that's what that is, a little bit of rumbling. But so hinges are all on, we're gonna start hanging these doors. I wanna give you a couple of tips here. So one thing you're gonna wanna buy, these things aren't that expensive, it's called a VIX bit. And basically it's a self-centering drill bit. So let me get you in a little close here. So as can you see this? It's just tapered here right on the end, and then this is spring loaded like that. So that part comes down. It's kind of hard to show, but there's a drill bit inside of there basically. And what that does is, as you're drilling your holes here for attaching your hinges to your face frame here, it just completely centers that drill bit, so you're not guessing, and it just really comes in handy. I've done a lot of cabinets. I mean, not a ton, but the cabinets that I've done in the past, I just recently bought this thing, and I should have bought it. It's one of those things I should have bought a long time ago. It's like 30 bucks, and you get, it came in a 3-pack or something like that. It's for what it does, it's a one-trick pony, but it definitely helps you anyway. Helps you line this up and just makes drilling these holes a little bit easier. So get a VIX bit. I'll leave a link in the description as well. Next, so how much of a reveal do you have at the bottom of your cabinet? Just make yourself a shim and set that up, and you're gonna set your door right on top of that. Makes positioning your door a lot easier. Now we'll go ahead and do the same on the top hinge. I can force this closed, but looks like we got to spread them apart a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do that with a screwdriver real quick. Perfect. Perfect. All right, we got our cabinet tipped on our side, and we got one more quick, easy little thing we're gonna do, and that is drill our shelf pin holes, and yet again, another Craig jig. This is totally turned into a Craig sponsorship video, but I didn't intend it for it to be, but their jigs do work. So anyway, shelf pins, so pretty easy. It's just a quick little jig. It has onboard storage for the bit and the little setup pin, and it couldn't be easier. Butt this one right here on this side, and then when we drill this side, we'll flip it this way and butt it up against our face frame. So pretty simple jig, not hard to use. I'll show you here. So we're gonna butt it down there. I'm gonna drill just this hole because nobody's gonna put a pin down here. This bit has a stop collar on it. It's all set. Okay, so that's one hole. So now this setup pin is gonna go, get these debris out of here, and start it here. So that's locked in. Now we can just drill the rest of these remaining holes. And we'll just pull the pin, blow the dust off, and do the same thing. Just locate the last hole that you drilled, set the pin in, and work our way all the way up. We got some final touches going on. We got some edge banding going on the shelves. I got Hannah in the shop today helping me out. She's playing with some blocks. Can you say hi? Yeah, we're just gonna do some iron-on edge banding. If you've never done this stuff before, it's super easy. There's a couple little tools here that are fairly cheap, and if you go and steal your wife's iron, you're good to go. So we'll get this edge banded and get ready to install it today.
Why did you go like this? Do you need all these?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're ironing these on the shelves.
It's like a little head. It's like a little necklace. So we're going to be cutting. Ready. Wait.
All right, y'all, that's the end of the video. We are done with these things. I'll be installing these tomorrow, and I hope you learned something. I know this video got really long-winded, but I really wanted to showcase all the steps to building a cabinet, all the way from design prep to painting to hanging the doors and installing the hinges and the hardware and stuff. The only hardware I didn't show was how to put the drawer or the doorknobs on, or drawer pulls if we were doing lower cabinets. And the reason I didn't put them on yet is these are going up right up against existing cabinets already, and I really need those to line up perfectly, so I'm going to install those on site. Anyway, like I said, I hope you learned something. If you did, leave me a like, subscribe, all those good things, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks, guys. See ya.